Hey skaters, my name is Sonic and I'm here with InMove Skates. And today we're going to talk about pivots. What are pivots? Well, pivots are an important concept in slalom and the basis for most of the moves. Pivots originated from ice figure skating and they're quite beautiful moves and they look great on inline and they're a core part of slalom skating. So let's show you what a couple of pivots look like. So here's what a few different pivots look like. Here's one. That's one kind. Here's another. That's another kind, and here's yet another one. So that's three different pivots. You can also chain them together. So you got one like this, and one like this, and one like that. So there's a few different pivots that you can chain together. Let's go through a few of the pivots. Those things probably looked really hard and complicated, but pivots are quite simple, and here's a few components of what a pivot looks like. The pivot has two parts. One foot is the pivot foot, so we can have that over here, and the other foot is the satellite foot, and that's the foot over here. The pivot foot stays in place and is usually either on the heel or it's on the toe. The satellite foot moves around. Now when you do a pivot, most of your weight is on your satellite foot, and that one can have usually all four wheels on the ground. For more advanced slalom skaters, it might have just one wheel on the ground. So let's go over how to do a few pivots. There's a lot of different kinds of pivots because of the variations you can make. So some of the variations include being on the toe or the heel. So there's the heel, that's the toe. Whether you're going forwards or backwards, that's another variation. Whether you're crossed in the front or crossed in the back, and then whether you're doing this with one leg or the other leg. So that gives a lot of different variations and combinations, but that's in theory. In practice, we only use a handful of these in slalom. So let me show you a few of them. So the first pivot we're going to learn is the forward open heel pivot. And that one looks like this. So let's go over the different stages to do this move, and we'll break it down to make it easier to learn. The first exercise is a static exercise to get the positioning right and the sequence of moves. So you want to start in a ready position. From there, you want to go into a scissored position, most of your weight on the back leg. The next part is to bring your front foot up on its heel. And once you're ready, drop it to the outside. So if your left foot is front, drops to the left. And next we'll try this while moving. Now, you probably didn't get this the first time you tried it, but here's a few tips to make it easier. The first thing is, when you do your pivot, you might end up moving not in like one place, and that's okay. Just give it a few times to practice. Second thing is, when you drop your foot, make sure really drop it all the way, but as you do your pivot, continue to push the foot in that direction. The next thing is, you want to take your hips and your shoulders and keep them in the direction of the pivot foot. So while your satellite foot is perpendicular to your pivot foot, your shoulders and your hips will be in the direction of your pivot foot, and that'll help you continue the motion. So if you stop moving the foot prematurely, your pivot ends. If you keep moving that foot in the direction you want to go, you can keep your pivot moving. So that's really helpful. Another tip is when you start the pivot and when you drop this foot, to drop all your weight. You let your whole body sink into the satellite foot and you'll get a stronger pivot. So I'll demonstrate a couple of them for you. Here's one with a small drop. Little drop, you get somewhat of a pivot, but if you get like a really strong drop, you get a great pivot. So if you drop further down, get more weight on there, your pivot's going to be much better. The next pivot we're going to learn is the same pivot but backwards. So a backwards open heel pivot. And in order to learn that, it's a lot easier once you got the first pivot down. So the first exercise we're going to do is a transition exercise. So I want you to come up on one heel perpendicular to like satellite foot, just the way you had with the pivot, and do a switch. So now all your weight's on this foot, and then switch again. All your weight's on this leg, and switch back and forth. So practice that a little bit. and then we'll get on to the next pivot. So now that you got your switch down, you're gonna add it to the first pivot that you just learned. So go ahead and do your pivot again, and switch it. And you can see I'm still spinning, but now I'm doing a different pivot. How cool is that? Very easy to learn, I hope. So there you go. Now you've got 2 pivots for your arsenal of slalom moves, and of course you could use these for regular skating too to really impress your friends. Check out immoveskates.com for more videos. We've got more videos on pivots coming soon. So thanks again for watching. Take care, guys.